Just got off that bus in Cartago, and I'm just stopping through Cartago, but this is where the trip begins. Well, the trip began at home, but this is the first stop I'm showing. So right now I'm looking for a bus to Paraiso, and there are single-seat rides between where I started out in San Jose, San Pedro, and Paraiso, but as usual I don't understand the schedules, and there are less buses, so I thought it would be quicker to come here to get a bus to Paraiso, but we will find out about that. There's the bus to Turrialba. Just got off that bus in Paraiso, and this is where I'm starting my real trip, more or less. So I'm in Paraiso Square. Not actually going to spend too much time in Paraiso, but I'm sat here and I rested and had a croissant and some soda. So I'm walking on this road out of town. This is actually the road I started on when I went to Orosi, but I'm not going to Orosi today, but I'm going somewhere, and I'm going to turn in a second, is the idea. Well, there is a bus coming in from Orosi, but I'm turning here because this is, I believe, the route I want to take. And with so much, I don't know. So, as usual, there's no Google Street View. So when I looked at this route, I know where it goes, but I didn't know what it looks like. And that is something I will continue to find out. So when I start out on a walk here in the US, and even when I do have Street View, I'm not always sure, will this be a little pleasant country lane with wide shoulders or even a sidewalk? Or will this be a windy, dangerous road choked with traffic? That's something I'm about to find out. I'm actually going to leave this road and go onto an even smaller road, is the plan. We'll see how that works. So just around the next bend. So right here, we are turning and we're going down this road, which actually looks promising as far as this being a peaceful walk. And I should say, so I am going to the region of Cachi, where I went previously on a bus, and there's some stuff I'm going to see down here. And this involves a pretty steep descent. It's about 6 miles and 1,000 feet of descent, and that can really be hard on my ankles and knees, but it should be worth it. And it was actually interesting because I was like, first planning to go to Cachi and then walking back up, and I was like, well, 1,000 feet, that could get pretty steep. And then I'm like, oh yeah, well, I could walk down too, and that should be a little bit easier, but still a little bit troublesome. But at least I have this nice road with no traffic, and we'll see what happens. So this is a real good sign about what type of road this is. There's just 2 horses kind of sitting in the middle of the road. Probably means there's not going to be a lot of like heavily loaded dump trucks going up and down the road, as we saw in Patio de Agua, when we also saw horses just kind of chilling out by the side of the road. You can also see there's fresh mud puddles on the road. It was raining earlier, I suppose, but it was dry since I've been here. And there is a chance, just like there's a chance I'll get lost and all of that, that it will start like a torrential downpour and an aguacero. And there's always a chance when you go out that those things will happen. But so far, it's actually pleasant weather for me. It's probably cold for the people here, but for me, this is warmer than Montana in December. From here, you can see the top of the church in Paraiso. So we haven't really come that far just yet. So this road is not so much of a hidden treasure as maybe I thought, because there is actually a little tourist lodge here with a view down into the valley, I think is the main selling point. One slight disappointment is that so far, even though I can see we have this valley here, there hasn't been like a really open, obvious viewpoint to look down into the valley. And I don't know if there will be, but that kind of, I think for me, kind of adds to the charm. I believe that is Orosi. but I'm not sure. I mean, well, it's either Orosi or Kachi, and that doesn't look like Kachi, so I think that just has to be Orosi. And it's not that far away in a linear manner. So this part here is going to be a little bit hard on my feet. So the road divides here. And this is a road in the United States, I'd assume was a driveway, but it says this is a public road. And I guess I will just follow this until somebody says otherwise. And I don't, but this certainly does make me feel that now I am on an adventure. And also it's pretty tranquil going down a one-lane gravel road down a hillside. So one reason I chose this route today, originally I planned to go somewhere else, but after Wednesday, when I went to Santa Ana and then I took the wrong bus and ended up by that jammed freeway, I decided I want something a little bit more natural. And I didn't know it was going to be quite this natural, but it is quite different than Wednesday, including, here we have a great view. This would probably be a fun road to bicycle down. Probably not so fun to bicycle up unless you're really dedicated. I was just thinking 10 years ago, December of 2014, I was in the middle of a cold Montana winter. That was before I had started teaching English. And I'm just thinking, if I could have told myself then, 10 years from now, you'll be walking down a gravel road in the Costa Rican rainforest. Might not have been totally unbelievable, but would have been a surprise. And I guess it's like, you never know what life has for you. And on a more prosaic subject, this walk did involve a lot of descent and still has some more to go. And I don't think I'm just imagining it and it makes sense. It definitely feels warmer and more humid here than it did in Paraiso or Cartago. So I thought at first when I heard this hissing sound that it was some type of exotic bird or even a snake, and now I can see this is some type of pump. Okay, we have a division here, and I have to look at my map, see which direction should I take. Apparently they are equal, they split up and then they'll rejoin later, so I'm going to take this top road for whatever reason. Unless it gets too washed out, and then I'll turn around and go around, but I think one is equal to the other in this case. So interesting point, this is the second one I've heard and seen. And so that must not just be something malfunctioning, that must be like a regular feature. Don't know what that is. If I had to guess, I'd say that might be some type of pump that dries out the hillside so it doesn't collapse. But I don't really know. And you can also hear somewhere off in the distance a much lower pitched noise, some type of machinery. And I don't know what that's related to, but we are pretty close to the dam in Kachi, so that could be some type of reservoir-related heavy equipment. According to this sign, this is a reforestation zone, private property prohibited to pass, meaning into that zone. I don't think it's prohibited to pass on this road. If not for that noise in the background, or even with that noise, I could really spin this into more of a story than it is. If I was a little bit better of an actor and added some effects, I could say I was like wandering around in a jungle in like anywhere. I could say this is the Amazon or the Darien Gap or something. And one of the ironies of walks like this is that this will probably take me about 2 hours, and I'm never actually that much further. In the totality of this walk, I'm never actually more than 1.5 miles, 2 miles, 3 kilometers from a bus stop. I'll take a couple hours of walk and then I'll just get on a bus and be back in the city really quickly. So despite having to put some effort into passing some things, this is really not some type of wild, dangerous adventure. This is like a neighborhood stroll. But if you want to believe I'm like some super adventurous like dude out in the middle of a scary forest, you can believe that. There we can see the reservoir of the lake, so that's the direction we're heading. So you can see how much further we have to go down. Not too far and not too much distance either at this point. We're more than halfway done. Turkey vulture just landed overhead. I'm gonna have to tell him, I'm not sick or anything. I'm not your next meal. Sorry. And otherwise, this road continues in a kind of muddy fashion, and my shoes are going to be pretty ruined, or at least need to be cleaned. One practical tip: if you do want to do this hike or a hike like this, this would have been really bad a month ago, maybe impassable, and in a month most of this will have dried up. So this is something maybe if you want to go down a little road like this, do it in Costa Rica's dry season. And just like that, I was afraid I was deeper or in the wrong place than I wanted to be. But out here, you know, you can see just down there, there's buildings and there's music playing. If I had to guess, I think that maybe like there's venues for weddings and stuff around here. Of course, I still don't know. This road might like just dead end directly in a fence or a wall, but I think I'm pretty safe here, but I'll find out in a while. You can see we're pretty close to all of that. I hope I do not awkwardly stumble across somebody's karaoke wedding party or something. Would make a good story, I guess. And I don't know when there's actually been a car on this road. I mean, you still have tire tracks, but look at how tall that is and how rough this is. I don't actually know if like there's cars going up and down this road, and if so, why? So I'm a little bit physically afraid of like falling and tripping. This is a dangerous road, but it's interesting. There's a lot of countries, if it's a road like this, I'd be a lot more afraid than I am right now, including the United States. As we've learned, never go down a gravel road in Humboldt County. Okay, so there is pavement. So at some point there was like a real pavement road. Sorry. To return to my main point, there actually, as far as I know, is no large-scale illegal drug cultivation in Costa Rica. So that's not something I have to worry about. But I am worried about falling and tripping. Well, at least now I'm on a flat road, and it looks like I'm where I want to be. But there might be a twist or turn or two before I'm home safe, so to speak. So that is where I came down from, and if you look up there, that shows partially how far I came down. I actually started up higher than that. Kind of glad I did not walk up that road, including I don't think I would have believed the directions starting from this direction, because when I came out it was just like a dirty path. I probably would have thought the directions were wrong and the road would disappear. Because I started with the road in Paraiso being more substantial, I believed it. Okay, let's still have to figure out how to get out of here. So I also noticed this in Cervantes a week ago, all these vines, and when I zoom in, those look like melons. Don't know specifically what type of melons, but I know that Costa Rica does grow various types of melons. So this was right by the side of the road. I didn't even know I was here until I saw it. I knew it was in the area. I didn't know how close I was. This is the ruins of Ujarrás, or Ruins de Ujarrás. And this is a early colonial area church or area, and a park made out of it. So I'm going to walk around here for a while, because this is actually the main reason I came here. The long route was just my means of getting here, but this is what I wanted to see. So this shows the history of this area. Originally built between 1561 and 1569, rebuilt in 1579 to 1580, 1638 to 1640. Finally, in the 1830s, because this is close to the Rio Rentazavan, which is the river dammed by the dam. this area was prone to flooding, it was muddy, and there was landslides. So they abandoned this area and moved the town to apparently Paraiso, which is at a higher point and has clearer air, I suppose. And so they left this here, and it's a beautiful ruins. And I don't know when the last time this was rebuilt, whether these are from 1830 or whether any of this was repaired or rebuilt later, even for structural or safety purposes. Somebody who knows more about engineering and architect might be able to help. Like that concrete pillar there, that looks like that might have been added on the metal. So yeah, I think that some of this was added so it doesn't just literally collapse. But in general, you can tell this is ancient, and in the rainforest you can see, things can break down brick structures pretty quickly. So very interesting. Also, correction, Ujarrás, accent on the last syllable. But of course, I make pronunciation errors and just get names wrong all the time. I'm not the guide to everything. I'm just a guy with a camera. And as you can see, the park is expansive and well kept, and it has facilities for stopping and having a picnic, and there's some play areas for children. So along with the historical part, this is actually just a really nice, well kept garden, and a nice park. And I do have to say, I think Cartago province in general is underappreciated for tourists, probably locally because nobody's here, and then internationally, sure, somebody might not come to Costa Rica just to see this park, but if you're in San Jose, coming here and then seeing the dam, seeing Orosi, the church in Orosi, all of that stuff is worth it. And in the past 6 weeks, this current trip in Costa Rica, I've taken 4 trips up to this part of Cartago province, and I think it's really my favorite. I'm certainly having more fun than I was Wednesday. Higueron Colorado, the colored fig, or the Costa Rica fig. This tree has been awarded a prize because it's such a great tree, and I don't argue with that. That's an interesting tree, especially that spreading above ground root system. That's new to me. And I come from places with lots of great trees, but I have to admit this is a great tree in its own right. And there are several other large trees in this park. So that's what it looks like from the road, and it's just on a normal road. You wouldn't really know it was there unless you knew it was there. And even after, coming all the way to Cartago to Paraiso, walking here, seeing the ruins, it's still only 2:20 in the afternoon. The only thing kind of putting a hamper in my plans is that it is starting to rain a little bit more heavily. I'm not soaked yet, but it could get harder. So I'm going to walk to my bus stop and then go back at this point. There is actually more stuff to see in this area. And another day I might, but for now I think I'm just going to walk back this way. So we have entered something like the center of town. Ujarrás is not a district. It is a district in the colloquial sense. It's an area or neighborhood of, I believe, Cachi. But there is like a little area here, and it does seem to have some tourist pull. But I will not be stopping to eat, unfortunately, because, like I said, I am on my way. So we have a little creek draining the mountains I just came from. We have fields around it, and I'm crossing this bridge. And pretty soon this creek will end up leading into the reservoir, I believe. I'm really glad I took this walk today. I don't think I would have been very happy if I would have done my original plan today. It's still something I want to do, but I think today I needed a quiet, misty country road and treacherous path through the jungle. Treacherous in the good way. So this is a sign that says Ujarrás. And in this direction, pretty soon I think we're just going to go towards closer to Cachi. And I'm not quite sure, like, because it's not an official district, what it means that there's a sign there. So after all of that, I am 5 kilometers from Paraiso and 5 kilometers from Cachi. Like, so all of that was a 3-mile trip, more or less. Now, if I had come down on this road, I would have had a real road, but I would have had a lot of weird, scary traffic with trucks, which is why I took the road I chose to take. So, Cachi 5, Tukurike 10. So that's only another 3 miles past the juncture, which is actually not too far and something I could do pretty easily, but I'm not quite sure about that sign because Tukurike is a possible future destination, but I think it might be a little bit harder to get there than the sign suggests. This is another thing that makes the rurality and the socioeconomics of a place like this a little bit hard to describe, because you have a gastro bar and an optician's, well, in the mini mart that's normal, along what seems to be just like a little like road in the middle of nowhere. This country does a lot of things quite well. Doesn't change the fact that my socks are wet right now. I'm waiting to get to my bus stop, which I think should be just down here a bit. Yeah, I don't like this part right here, but it should be pretty short. This road has definitely turned longer and less comfortable than I thought it would. Also, the rain has persisted longer than I thought it would, but nothing terrible. That's why I came to this country, to have adventures. So this area is apparently called Ahenal, and it is also closer to Cachi. And at first I thought all of this area was just Ujarrás. Can't pronounce it right now. And I stopped to change my socks and shirt, but right now, like, all these jurisdictional questions and stuff are kind of silly, and I'm going to put my camera down. Okay, well, I have a sidewalk here. Looks like it will continue. Anyway, so because I did that walking near Cachi, and because I walked from Cartago to Paraiso, if I make it to that last bus stop, all of this will be within logic, and so I am not waiting at the last bus stop I was at, because I want to walk another like 5 minutes to complete the logic. Maybe silly, but yeah, a lot of this is silly. Okay. So at least I have a sidewalk here. So this video, I'm going to guess, is not going to be one of my most popular. It's going to be long, which usually kills the interest. And it's kind of about a place that's not a famous name. Oh, that might be my bus that's just passing, so I'll have to wait another half hour. Qualquiera pura vida. Might be another bus. Don't know. I'll think about that later. So a lot of the details of stuff like this. So, you know, there's not a lot of people who are specifically interested in Ujarrás or even Paraiso, Cachi. But for me, this is really interesting. This is one of the best walks I've had, and I've got to be peaceful, be in nature, have some tranquility, see a lot of things, feel a little bit scared when I thought I was lost, see a lot of, you know, the real countryside and the real small towns. So all fascinating for me. Might not be really clear, but I will say that if you do want to like spend some time in Costa Rica, stuff like this is for me more interesting than going to the beach at Jaco. Maybe that's just sour grapes. Maybe after I go to Jaco I'll decide I like it. But for now, I want everybody to consider, even though this last part of the video has been a blurry mess and it's just shown a lot of country roads and stuff like that, this is really interesting. This is something that if you have some time, you should think about doing in Costa Rica. Okay, well, I'm probably going to stop recording here. Don't know if I'll say anything in Paraiso or Cartago. Yeah, this is an adventure. Addendum, right up there, another bus pass, so I might not have to wait long because it's just going to go to Cachi and turn around. Okay, the Represa is a couple of blocks that way. That is the last bus stop that I walked to. So when I cross the street, I will have Cachi within logic, and congratulations. And the sun is coming out. Good.